Hello and Happy New Year. This 2026 in the year of our Lord. How are all of you? It's been a while. I can't remember the last time we actually did a stream. I'll tell you why. I'll let you in on the secret. Um, so the last couple weeks, how do I put this? Let me put up the calendar. So at Carroll College, finals week was the second week of December, which meant I was spending the third week grading all my students' names with their grades written out, that I then enter in for their essays on the computer. It meant the third week was spent just reading essay after essay, tidying up, finishing grades for Carroll College, and then the other university I work at in Maine, where I teach online. Their finals ended on the 19th, the third week, so it meant just when you thought you were done teaching on the second week, and grading the third week, you have another college or university that's a week out. So then I was grading on the fourth week, trying to finish everything to get that in. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the fourth week. And then I'm trying to remember, what did I do for? Oh, I didn't do anything for New Calendar Christmas. Oh, I remember. Then I think it was when was my first day back skiing? 23rd. I know I went the 24th. So I think I've done 6 days, 6 or 7. How many days have I done? 6 or 7? Okay. So we did the 23rd, or was New Year's our first day? What was our first day back? That's right. So 23rd was my first day back skiing. Then 24th. You just said the 23rd. Oh, we didn't do New Year's. I mean, sorry. We didn't do Christmas Eve. Okay, got it. I'm getting my dates mixed up. Thank God for my wife. The 23rd, then the 26th, 27th, correct? And then 29th, 30, and 31. And on the 7th day, I rested. Today. So, if you've been wondering where about, like, that's been like I was finishing like grades uh in school, and then trying to get as much skiing in and break my new boots in. Um it's the first time I've been back since my injury, and the first 3 days was perfectly fine. Didn't feel anything. The last couple days, because I was skiing with some really good skiers, some of the local old timers, and we push each other. I'm sore. I could feel it on my ankle yesterday. And so, anyways, I thought it was best that I took a day of rest. I'll be back up tomorrow, so no morning prayers tomorrow. I'll be on the mountain. Saturday liturgy in Clancy here in Helena. And then I'll be getting some new godchildren. 4 new godchildren. Joel, Aiden, Kian, Kayla, hold on. Joel, Kayla, Kian, and Aiden. 4 new. We're going to be making them catechumens tomorrow. So your prayers for the Marler family. And I'm really excited about that. Then I will be covering for Father Andrew and Great Falls Sunday. And then skiing Monday, right? Yes. All right, so that's that. But yeah, I'm sore. Yeah, you can only have one godparent. But as a godfather, you can have many godchildren. Good question. All right, let's see if we've got any super chats. What other news do we want to cover? Oh, I remember. After a couple weeks break, because everything was going on with the grades and finishing up college and university, we will be having the Orthodox Continuing Education and Catechesis class tonight. Oh, this is interesting. Let me put it in the chat. Okay, YouTube Studio. Please, if you have not subscribed, please do. If you haven't joined the Patristic Faith Telegram, please do to get updates. Excuse me. Okay, here we go. Get shareable link. Put this in the chat. Oh, cool. Yeah, thanks for giving a shout out to Alex. Debate. Make sure you guys check that out. Our friend Alex debate with Elijah. We're about the same age. Yeah, I'm 48. No, my body doesn't act like it used to. I was getting tired yesterday. I was doing one of the top runs, and obviously I'm a really aggressive skier, and I just my leg gave out, and I just ate it and extended my my arm, and I can feel it's like super sore. So what I do notice is the lack of resiliency. Like when I was younger, like when you fall and stuff, like you're just back up. Like when you fall now, or something happened, like, or I'm a lot more sore, and it takes longer to recover, stuff like that. But I'm a better skier than ever. Although I quit doing like jumps and purposely flying off cliffs when I was younger after I broke my back. So uh, I'm not as wild of a skier, but I'm certainly a lot better in terms of strength and form. And do you know what's crazy? I was talking with. There's some good. By the way, one of the best skiers ever was Scott Schmidt, and was like my skiing idol when I was growing up in the 90s, and he was from Helena, Montana, and he grew up skiing Great Divide, which is where I ski. That's my local resort. Anyways, what I'm really proud, there's some really good skiers. Some 8th grade device, some old, and they're all older. I typically don't like I see the young kids going off the jumps and everything. And what I notice is that I wouldn't necessarily say that they're doing the tricks, that they're good skiers. They just lack fear. Like I had that when I was younger. Um, but when I watch them, their form's off. Because I watch everybody coming down the mountain. And then I might see somebody that I'm like, that takes a lot of kind of training, a lot of discipline. And so, um, who's most impressive to me are some of the older people I ski with. These guys are in their 70s, some 80s, and their skiing is about as good as I am. Fast, hard, yeah. And they're retired, so they get to ski a lot more. But the fact that they're like that active, um, and that great of skiers, it's really impressive. So, anyways, I was telling one of the guys that I ski with last night. Yeah, skiing at 80, I can't believe it. There was somebody on Twitter that says, I challenge you. I'm a better skier than you. I'm like, who the heck? Like, maybe. There's very few people that are better ski unless, you're a sponsored. And I'm like, what if this guy's like actually really like an amazing, like professional skier and is actually challenging me? I think about thinking about it was like, how does he know how well I ski? Anyways, I just thought it was funny. I'm like, the odds are probably not. You're probably not a better skier than me. Um, but like, if the guy actually knows that he's like one of the top skiers in the world, then yeah, he'll actually outski me. Um, do you know what's really cool? I should show you. So Saturday they opened the upper mountain. It was one of the best days. I'm gonna show you. I thought so. One of the film guy went down. We was going down with my buddy Tim and I was like, oh sweet, I have somebody will film me because we skied the run well. So I was like waiting like 2 days for them to get it up on Instagram, and then I'm like, I'm not even in it. I didn't get any of my, but he got my buddy Tim, and my buddy Tim's a good skier. But this is the run we were on Saturday. We were skiing together. I got to show it to you. It's actually really cool. I think you guys will like it. But I love Tim. Um, I'm just so blessed to have some really good skiers and friends. Are you guys ready? My local mountain right here. Oh yeah, we had this thing yesterday called yeah, that was last night. We had fireworks, a torch run. I'll show you another video, but okay, here it is. This is Upper Mountain. So you can see they're posting different stuff here. Belmont, that's the Upper Mountain lift, drops in tomorrow. So that was obviously the Saturday. And then but I like this video here. Tim, that's just Tim and I skiing. Do anything for you. Look at this good run. Yeah. And I'm right behind Tim. This is Tim. Anything you wanna do. There's Tim again. One blade breaking my heart. Hold on, I'll get the other. Let's see, Great Divide. Here's for last night. But that was a good video. I just wish they would have got me. Yeah. Oh well. Good for my humility. How does it say close now? It should be opened. Yeah. Okay, so I actually did this last night. So what they do,
torchlight parade and fireworks show.
They give everybody flares on like sticks. And you gotta hold it out, otherwise it'll melt your clothes. And then everybody skis down in like these S's and follows everybody. But I'm in here somewhere. I actually didn't like it. First of all, this was probably at 6:30 in the evening. I'm all skied out. My feet are sore. My ankle was killing me. And oddly enough, going slow is harder for me than actually going fast. Like with my it puts more pressure. It was putting more pressure on my feet and my ankle that was hurting. And so I was like, first of all, I had to stand in line. Oh, and you can't use your poles. That's the other thing. So I was using my poles to kind of like help me with my weight because my ankle was hurting yesterday. Like, no poles. So you gotta stand there with no poles for 30 minutes to get on the lift. Then you get up top, and then you gotta stand some more, and then they start handing out the torches, the flares, and stuff like that. And then you gotta go down behind people super, super slow. And I was like, this is awful. I'm so much pain. But anyways, like one of the instructors that I was talking to, he was like, you gotta do it once. I'm like, okay, so I did it.
Celebrating New Year's Eve right here at Great Divide.
See how slow they're going? Nobody burned themselves up. See, I wish they got higher up on the deck. You could see going all the way. It's a long S line going all the way up the mountain. And then they'll start like shooting up fireworks at the same time. It's getting cold.
I don't know if we're running dispatch or not, but this is relaying IU-80. We're getting the ball.
There it is. Cool, huh? You're just shooting at fireworks as you're skiing underneath them. I'll tell you what, it certainly looks cooler from the bottom than it is on the hill.
Yeah.
Figure out if this is the last of it. No, there's still Kind of hard to see. Oh, they turn off all the lights from the night skiing.
Oh, big fireworks. Look at.
Alright. But yeah, my favorite was the video of Tim and I skiing. I gotta play it again. It's so cool. And I like that they had Dire Straits on there.
The 6th grade night, do anything for you.
Tim's a pretty good skier.
Anything you wanna do. One blade.
All right. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Well, that's a good question. How are prices in Montana? It's unfortunate. Yeah, Knopfler's a beast. Love him. 10 euros. Thank you so much from Rui TX77. Happy New Year, Father, and everyone around you. Thank you so much for that. Happy New Year to you. Screaming chill. Seriously. Okay, so this week they're doing kids camp, ski camp. And there's just tons of kids like. Oh, and by the way, Scott Schmidt was the Warren Miller dude. So he's from Helena, from that same local mountain right there. I think he lives now and skis Big Sky, which is about 2 hours south of us. Yeah, going slow requires more pressure to control, like, because there's certainly like a lot of like control that you're doing when you're going faster as far as your form, but as far as like putting pressure on the quads and the calves and ankles when you go slow, it's like that's why you see like the new people and young people doing the ski wedge. Like that's the worst. That actually requires the most strength and so it's actually not great. The better form is like the less work and pressure you have to put on your quads and calves and shins and stuff like that because you have good form. So it was killing me. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, gotta get down. Oscar sends in 199. God bless everyone. I'm very late. That's fine. Yeah, let's go over. So it's unfortunate what happened in Montana. Nobody would listen to me when I said get up here before it gets too expensive. Unfortunately, relative to income, mean income, Montana is one of the most expensive places to live now, given what relative to the average pay of now overall, like house prices are cheaper than the coasts, like New York and Washington, Oregon, California, and then it depends where you're at. So the most expensive place to live, probably Livingston and Bozeman. Uh, then I would say Missoula. Then probably here. Maybe Kalispell. Maybe Kalispell is more expensive than here. And then cheaper places are Butte, uh, Great Falls, Billings. But it's probably still cheaper, a little bit cheaper than Texas. Yeah, Mike, actually, I would like to talk about the gospel because I want to. So I covered this with some of my students on Monday night. There's a magazine called Jacobin Magazine. Couldn't believe it. I saw somebody on Facebook. I just unfriended because I just don't have the strength and patience this fast to deal with wackos. But this guy he's Orthodox. He was posting all these articles, socialism articles. And he was posting this magazine called Jacobin. It's a Democrat, like pro-socialist like, have you guys heard of this? I'm gonna tie this into the gospel, I promise. But that actually is a good topic. I wanted to. All right. Yeah, sure. Here it is. Gotta help you for. Look, it's just all socialist. Look at the socialist utopia here. That just looks disgusting to me. Looks like my nightmare. That's what hell's gonna look like. Oh, that's oh yeah, he was just instated today, right? So Soran. The anti-fascist orders of Swedish social democracy. Serious socialist struggle for racial equality. Jesus. Gee whiz, man. This is just pure vomit material. All right, well, hold on a second. I gotta find the. So one of the articles that was shared was David Bentley Hart's. What the heck? I just put David Bentley Hart in there, right? David Bentley Hart, and yeah, this I actually read this article, so this is going to tie into the Gospel of Mark that we read today. Guys, did you not know Christianity was always for the poor? what does he start with? In evolutionary biology, one of the mysterious thresholds of which at present we have only the vaguest conceptual grasp is that moment in the ramification of phylogenetic series at which an inevitable taxonomic divergence occurs. The genuine and new species emerges. So obviously he's an evolutionist. So I imagine he's saying, like, he's appealing to kind of like progressivism, right? Obviously, there's a social kind of evolution of mankind. He mentions Hegel. All this too could be alluding to process theology, but let's see. Look at this. The New Testament alarmingly condemns personal wealth not merely as a moral thing, but okay. Let's now. What's weird about this? So watch, he's kind of double speaking here. Okay, I'm just going to read this. Most modern, especially most American Christians, are quite accustomed, for instance, to thinking Christianity is a fairly common sense creed as regards the practicalities of life. On the matter of wealth, they take it as given that while the New Testament enjoys generosity to the poor, it otherwise allows wealthy to enjoy the fruits of their industry or fair fortune with a clean conscience. Common sense tells them that it's not wealth as such that the New Testament condemns, but only the spiritually unhealthy preoccupation with it, idolatry of riches, wealth misused. So, yeah, I thought that was riches in themselves are neither good nor bad. Then he goes in and basically says, no, actually, it's evil. So, common sense isn't correct. The heretic David Bentley Hart, who says that if the councils contradicting me, the hell with the councils. This is who we're listening to. He is a registered Democratic Socialist. He's in there with AOC. And they're so... Here's a classic con, guys. I was talking to some of the guys that we went skiing with yesterday. I was telling them about the philosophers, the con artists. They use certain words, like, obviously just use this. What I'm saying is so unambiguous. It's self-evident. Money and the capitalist pigs are evil and opposed to Christ. And if you doubt me, then I just throw in this word. Well, it's unambiguous. It's self-evident, you see. And if you don't think otherwise, well, that's because obviously bad translations. Obviously, the original makes those pronouncements much clearer, you see. And you can throw in a couple Greek words there. Now, watch total Gnostic tactic. The and heretics do this. To, as Eric Vogelin says, to wordplay, to bounce on different meanings of words. So you create smoke and mirrors and you guide somebody away from the truth by wordplay. Okay, so notice this. The standard translation, and according to Greek, for fellowship is community. Communism, guys. There you go. Communism in 3 etymological steps with Dr. David Bentley Fart. And so I've noticed heretics will do this. We got this issue. I see that Craig Trulia is doing a YouTube right now. The Latinizers. What do? They do wordplay. So these guys pushing inherited guilt, penal substitutionary atonement. None of the priests or bishops believe that. The only one that I knew that was actually pushing for that apostatized. But as you see, and I put here, let's just go. I'm tying it all together because people were asking, is there like Twitter stuff going on? Okay, I saw Bryce. Bryce said, hot take, I understand both sides of the argument from the Diorites and the Latinizers. Now, I don't really understand what Bryce is saying. What do you mean both sides? You mean the heretics, people pushing heresy versus orthodoxy? What does it mean to say, I understand the argumentation from the heretics that are pretending to be? But then he takes it a different direction. Says, but I've noticed rather than posting apologetics against demonic faith, the Latinizers just post about PSA. Well, because they're demon possessed. Obviously, they're not going to come out and call out. I mean that seriously. Like, I don't mean individually, but there's a type of possession over these people. We saw this years back. The usual suspects, people, all they do would be, they never attacked Roman Catholics, Islam, liberal orthodoxy, the liberals in orthodoxy. It was always, they were constantly attacking Orthodox people, constantly attacking me and Jay, right? That says something. It's like, never attack the Skittles, the gays. It's like, because they're gay. Like, that's obviously, that's their guys. Like, of course they don't. They're not going to attack demonic faith and the gays. Like, because they're gay. Like, that's the obvious conclusion. But what's interesting here is people were like, these comments are just driving me crazy. What's interesting, these tards, these PSA tards accuse us Orthodox of being Marnists. But penal substitutionary atonement's premised on nominalism, which is embraced by the moderns. So who's this guy? Is he another Latinizer? I don't know. It's just name call, like, oh, you're a Pelagian, you're a Diorite, you're a modernist. then somebody in here, and I can't find it, like, I'm just hating all this infight. There is no infighting. This is what I don't understand. You have a group of children who are pushing heresies. And you think that there's just these different, well, who's right and who? Well, I don't know. I mean, doesn't it kind of make sense that obviously it's probably, if all the priests are saying, no, we don't, and it's not because we're infallible, but let's just look at this statistically in terms of probability. Who would you trust more? Who do you think's probably right? If you have a consensus among the priests and bishops that penal substitutionary atonement is heresy, has no place in orthodoxy, inherited guilt, right? All the priests and bishops say that. Or some teenager who's quote mining and challenging everybody. I can prove it. That's what these people were actually saying, but I blocked most of them. And they were like, well, the reason why all the priests and bishops believe because they're what? They're modernists. They're diorites. So there's no infighting. There's not different groups. There's just orthodoxy and a bunch of children, online anonymous people that have no blessing to teach, no credentials, bringing in these Latinizing Protestant ideas, trying to confuse you people. This is what I don't know. This is why I said, what amazes me, I understand that there's going to be people like that. What I don't understand is you people online have so little discernment that you're like, well, I don't know. It's just infighting. I'm so tired of different groups. It's like, what is the matter with you? How retarded do you have to be to like, and then you think you actually like have to talk to these people and listen, like you follow them, your friends, and you try to work through all this stuff by yourself from children, from little children that are anonymous, that hide where they are, who they are. So they're correct. Lord of the Flies, children theology, that's the right way because they can quote mine and deceive you and play word games with you, and all the priests and bishops are wrong. So all the priests and bishops and everybody, all the clergy advisory board on Patristic Faith, they're all diorites, you see. And by the way, Jay Dyer is under the clergy advisory board. That's why you can't say like, well, there's two groups. It's like, that's an official sort. Like, if Jay were saying something incorrect, the clergy would call him out. So that's why I said it. What amazes me are those who listen to get their theology from online children with no blessing to teach nor credentials, who hold heretical views and challenge everyone to debate the issue. That's what they want. They were like, well, so-and-so, and I'm not even going to mention his name, he can prove it. Well, what about what all the priests and bishops are saying? Do you go to catechesis? Do you go find a 17-year-old? Like, I'm going to learn Orthodoxy. I'm going to go find a random 17-year-old to learn theology from? Or do you go to the priests? I just, it's amazing. Oh, well, the 17-year-old says all the priests and bishops are heretics and modernists and diorites. You people are actually believing this and getting confused. I have no idea how you get to that place in life. So I made a joke, but Father, there's an anonymous entity on the Ouija board saying that all the priests and bishops are wrong and modernists. It says they can prove it from Scripture and the Fathers. And wants to debate the issue online. What should we do? I'm just so tired of all this Orthodox infighting. Why can't we all get along? Why are you listening and talking to an entity, anonymous entity, through a spirit board, a computer board. What is the matter with you people? Anyways, one of the things that I noticed, you'll know them by their fruits. First of all, this is not the prescribed way. And if I had my way in a new regime, these people would be like dealt with. Like, there would be no anonymous. You know what? It'd be great if like hundreds of years later we had like an Orthodox saint that like these people couldn't hide. They hacked their accounts and stuff like that. This is the only reason why these people are getting away with it, because there's no consequences. There's anonymity. That's why they hide. I'm not telling you what parish I go to, what my priest is, because you'll get me in trouble. It's like, yeah. In a perfect world, we would find you and make sure you're not allowed to. That's in the new regime. That's what it would be. You're not allowed online. You know me. I love gatekeeping. If I had the power, I'd be like, yeah, I would determine who's allowed online and who's not. How about that? By the way, all this stuff, freedom, all these concepts, we're going to all tie this back in, I promise, to the original question about riches. But this goes back to one of the issues that we see with David Bentley Hart. First, I would actually say, you know these people by their fruits. They never provide clarity. They provide confusion. So people are like, I don't know. I understand both of what do you mean you understand both sides of it? That means you're confused. So they produce confusion. They produce division. They're not orthodox. Number two, they're doing what David Bentley Hart does. They pick up on words. The etymology, then they move from the etymology. Oh, well, there's the word atonement, and we have atonement in, but there's also penalty. And if I put all these things together and kind of move back and forth, well, there is original sin. I can talk about all these things. Watch me in my semantical smoke and mirrors game lead you straight into hell, into heresy. So these idiots do the same thing. And if you're dumb enough to fall, like, I don't know what to tell you. If you're talking and doing and trying to debate entities on anonymous entities on a Ouija board and your theology, but they have a good argument. How do we respond? Lord help you. Okay, so watch. David Bentley Hart's doing the same thing. He's going to put pieces, and this is what every heretic does. There's pieces of the truth. I think it's St. Ignatius that says the heretic takes the original mosaic and rearranges all the pieces, the mosaic pieces, into a different image, and then claims what? Well, there's the original piece. You see, that's right there. There's the etymological source. That's what the word means. Where I found this word here, it's a different message. It's a different picture. All right. Before moving on, I'm just going to check in with you guys in the chat. Woo! I got some super chats. Thank you. Let's read them. This is what happens when we threw out bullying. Like, these people should... God forgive me for saying it. I won't. Let me just put it this way. There's no consequences to anybody's actions. Like, everybody's just free, and we're going to talk about this concept of freedom to do whatever they want without any impunity or without any consequences. But you know, the good old days, right? When I grew up, when you just like, I mean, obviously, of course, you can't do this, but like, I mean, how you solved a lot of these things wasn't through anonymity and debate. It's like in the boxing ring, punch you. I mean, these people wouldn't be saying the stuff that they would be saying if it was the 80s and 90s. I'm telling you. All right. I want to give a big thanks to $50 Canadian from Jules B1S, reading the book Patristic Theology. He's discussing theosis. In it, he's using glorification equals theosis regarding 2 Corinthians 3:18. Is Paul specifically talking, perhaps referencing indirectly the Eucharist? Here, I think so. I thought that's part of theo. Like, yes, I remember now. I don't even need to look it up. The theosis is actually through the Eucharist that we actually, because I think in the context of 2 Corinthians 2, you know, how is it that we're going to live for like forever? Like, St. Paul's making an argument because you're eating and partaking of eternity, the death and resurrection. That's how you're raised, is through the right, and participate in the glories of the resurrection. Because some will experience the resurrection as damnation, whereas we would is bliss. How? By being incorporated into the body of Christ. How are you incorporated into the death, resurrection, and the physical, mystical body of Jesus Christ? Like the Eucharist, you eat his body and drink his blood. That's how. So yeah, absolutely, good question. Oh, cool, Bryce. Great, you're in. Yeah, I couldn't understand what you were saying. I was mainly getting upset by the people in your. So Bryce says, what I meant by understanding both sides is that I understand their approach to something, but not all. More like scholastic, doing things like. I think it's important to contextualize Saint Ignatius. He was speaking, and I think it was good that he kind of learned the scholasticism. It's like Saint Gregory says, when speaking to the philosophers, speak in a way that you may win the philosophers over. But I don't understand in another respect, right? So I understand what Saint Ignatius was doing. I have no problem with that. But that doesn't mean that we should all start embracing kind of foreign language and kind of foreign concept. That's typically what kind of happens. What do you mean I muted an account? I don't get what that means. So I don't know why they're obsessed with the kind of Latin scholastic. That's what I'm not like. Something is very foreign from. So I think it's a different project than what Saint Ignatius was doing. And I would certainly say that suppose like theoretically like it wasn't foreign. There wasn't something problematic about getting to the kind of Latin, Latin scholastic. What would be problematic is, yeah, but look where it's leading them. I think you judge a lot by the effects and the fruits of their embracing the kind of Latin scholastic constantly leads them into heresy. Like, so it's just like, well, maybe you shouldn't be thinking that way. Yeah, I think, Bryce, you're correct. Yeah. Also, he was a remarkable scholar and trained. 17-year-olds are not. Like, I can't not, Bryce, help me out. I cannot figure out this. Well, we've talked about it before. The last couple decades, maybe even starting all the way back to the 80s and 90s, kids know best. All throughout the TVs. Now we literally have all of these people. Didn't we have the Talon guy? He's like 17, like a 17-year-old pervert, and was putting a bunch of stuff on. That's who's leading the the craziest world that we live in. I can't figure it out. I mean, again, I get where it kind of started. I can contextualize it, but type of the union. I don't mute anybody on it. It must have been one of the mods in here. I was like, maybe by accident. I don't. The only thing I would do is if somebody, like, I would boot somebody if they were like really problematic, but obviously that's not the case. So I don't know why that happened. Obviously it was one of the mods. Maybe it was accident. Maybe it was just, I don't know. All right. Should we get back to Rabbi Talon? Bryce, was he on your Discord for a while, or one of... Or was that another? Or he came into it? Elder Zoomer elderism. Hey, isn't that kind of funny that Mormons are like that too? The elders are like the young people. Zoomer elderism. Octavian 1999. Thank you, Father. Bless you. Thank you for all work. Thank you so much. Zoomer elder. Let's start using it. All right, should we go back to David Bentley Hart's and the gospel of capitalism? It was Mike's question about, let's go over the gospel from today, and then it's tying into all of it, I swear. Dave, that's a good. Kids are 15. When you turn 17, you become an elder. Oh, he actually does call himself Rab. That's not even a joke. By the way, my new godchildren, the family, they're from Mormonism. Yeah. So it's really cool. All right. Let's go back to David Bentley Hart's nonsense. So notice the wordplay. He's going to pick up on, there are communal aspects to, we're a Trinity. We're Trinitarians. I mean, we believe we worship a Trinity. And our church itself, the body of Christ, is Trinitarian. It's communal. But what does that word mean? Monasteries are communal. Well, more accurate is obviously modernistic, a modern post-Hegelian dialectical materialism, communism. Again, this is the same problem with I think with the Latinizers is we do have certain words, and that's what they do. They go back and they find these words. It's like, yes, but it means something different in orthodoxy than later. All of these ideas of this post-schism stuff, and all nominalism and the Protestant heresies, it starts to contaminate the word. So oftentimes it takes discernment where it's like, well, maybe we shouldn't use it anymore because it's taken on kind of new meaning. Like communism would be one of those. Or we simply point out with like atonement, yes, well, we do have atonement. Is there original sin? Yes. It doesn't mean what you think it means. Because words can mean different things in different contexts. So there's one or two ways to go with that. Either stop using it because it's been contaminated, probably like communism, or you make it very clear the word doesn't mean, simply because it might have some similarities, and there's an etymological, historical link to its origins, that it means the same thing that you do. So they're playing a word game, and that's what David Bentley Hart is actually. But let's move. What David Bentley Hart's going to do in this, the semantical sorcery trick, and the semantical smoke and mirrors, and philosophical con artist game that he's going to do, he's going to use these words and passages, just like the Latinizers, cherry pick, and build a case. Notice it's a very secular way of doing this. Is what we do in the universities, right? I have a thesis, right, that I want to argue for. Just to sign my students' papers, they had to come up with a thesis topic, right? I'm going to argue for this. And then what do? They go cherry pick a bunch of authors and books, which I told them to, cite their sources, and they make their case, just like a legal case or something like that. And it may be a novel idea. Wow, I never thought a student was going to argue that animals are rational. Huh. Or whatever the position may be. But I'm looking more for, obviously I'm not judging them on their conclusions, I'm looking more for their ability to work through material, their understanding, their use of language, development of arguments, development of considering the objections and work. Like, I'm looking at kind of more objective rubrics. But notice that is the secular way that you do things in college and university. Take a novel idea and if you could argue for it, you just go to the different texts and you pull it out. And well, notice the Latinizers are doing the same thing. To hell with catechesis and the consensus of the fathers and bishops. So it's very much anti-hierarchical. It's radical egalitarianism. We're going to link all of this, including David Bentley Hart, into the French Revolution and the Enlightenment ideas. So it's ironic that they accuse all of us of being modernists when I'm like, you actually are thoroughly modern. Like, you're doing all the stuff that like a modernist would do. Okay. Preach good tidings to the poor. To the prosperous, the tidings he bears are decidedly grim. But alas, you who are rich, for you have your comfort. Alas, for you who are replete, for you will be hungry. Now notice, I guarantee you, there is one person in the gospel that argues David Bentley Hart's position. Let's see if you can get it in scripture. Let's see. There is one that's very clear. The person in the New Testament, in the Gospels, that argues David Bentley Hart's position. Let's see if we can figure it out. St. Augustine is a saint. I love St. Augustine. What are you talking about? I made my wedding cake 18 years ago into St. Augustine's Confessions. By the way, part of the problem too is a lot of these people, and I was talking with the assistant dean at Jordanville um, about this. They don't have any philosophical training. I mean, one of the reasons to kind of understand how and why, where Augustine goes into the kind of errors, you have to have like a philosophical training to kind of understand these. Yeah, Eastern Orthodox. I've seen tons of Eastern Orthodox churches that have St. Augustine. And so I don't know what you're talking about, dude. Bud. Yes. All right. Puffer Fish Base got it. Congratulations. Are you the first one to get the correct answer? Who was actually making David Bentley Hart's case in the gospel? Yeah, City of God's awesome. If you get through it, that's one of my favorites. Yep. Judas. But Lord, we could take this money and create a social program, welfare program. Isn't that better? It's all about the poor. Now, there is a sense the gospel is about the poor. Blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed, right? There's a reason why we do almsgiving to the poor, but not for the reason that David Bentley Hart and Judas are. Not to elevate them. We're not doing it to elevate them out of their economic class. We're doing it because we're showing Christ the love of. We're showing love. So notice one of the modern presuppositions, especially in Marx and later thinkers, well, the transcendent world is abolished. Forms are abolished. Teleology is abolished. There's no restraint. Right? Everything left is basically will and power, right? Libido dominandi and materialism. So that's why you have the dialectical materialism. Everything must be simply assessed in terms of economic factors and control. And through the means of manipulating economic forces alone, i.e. through matter, to dissolve classes so that there's a radical egalitarianism and erase class distinction, okay? That's not why, first of all, that does not exist. Those are all modern presuppositions that come out of the Enlightenment, the French Revolution, Marx, Hegel, etc. That doesn't exist in the gospel. There were none of those philosophical presuppositions. The reason why we feed the poor and we care for them is to show the love of Christ, especially to those who are most vulnerable. What Christ says to Judas, i.e. David Bentley Hart, When it says, but we could make a social program using this money rather than using it for the church. Let's make a secular social welfare program. What does Christ say to Judas? You will always have, but you will not always have me. So that should be a refutation of all this nonsense. You cannot, the Lord does not want economic class distinctions to be erased. He's saying you're not going to be able to do it. And this is part of kind of a modern project, too, of utopianism. But we can get to the utopia. Yes, I get it. In eternity, there's not going to be economics. So what does man do? Well, I'm not waiting for that on God's terms. I'll establish it. I'll create the Tower of Babel. I'll create the Edenic state on my own, through my own ways, through libido dominandi, will to power by the manipulation of purely by the manipulation of economic forces. And Christ is saying, it's not happening. You'll never erase and get rid of the poor and elevate them, nor is it good. Nor would I want to. And I'm going to talk about that later. I think that, in part, blessed are the poor, and blessed are the poor of spirit. Blessed are the poor financially, too. And it does say in the gospel, it's harder for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven than a camel through the eye of a needle. So they always focus on, these socialists, these libtards always focus on the evils of the rich man. But what they don't realize is the flip side of that. If it's hard to get in the kingdom of heaven, to be rich, and you want to what? Then it's easier for the poor. So you would actually be making it difficult and preventing people from acquiring salvation, because guess what? In your Judas social welfare program, you're going to eliminate poverty. It's literally anti-gospel. It's crazy. There's a humility in poverty. There is a like, when you're poor, you have to cry out to God, help me, give me enough that I can make it today. And these socialists would do away with that. That's what's crazy to me. But let's move on, shall we? Any other questions so far? Let me look and see if I missed any super chats. It's a great topic. I'm glad. Mike, I'm glad you brought it up. And Bryce, thanks for coming on too and clearing up the situation. Forgive me, I wasn't trying to dig into you if it came off that way. I ask for forgiveness. I was digging into the Zoomer elders and the infallible counsel of Lord of the Rings, the infallible counsel of Children of the Corn. No, Lord of the Flies. The Lord of the Flies Zoomer Elder Council of 2026 ruled that we're all diorites now and we're going to hell. I love how it's inverted too. It's Jay's correct because he's following the correct. It would be called out, right? Notice they flip it like Jay's the standard. It's like, no, Jay's not the standard. Like, Jay's not the standard. The standard, right, and how we typically do stuff, right? Again, it's like I said, he's under a clergy advisory board. If any of us thought he was saying something wrong, we'd call out, and it's been done before. With somebody in Patristic Faith that had to be removed. So nobody's beyond the ability of correction. And that's one thing I want to encourage people to. People don't know, like, well, who do I listen to? People who are either clergy, or have the blessing, right, or under an accountability, who are plugged into an official source. To start doesn't mean they're infallible. I'm like, but you can at least eliminate all the other stuff. Like, do you see it kind of narrows down, like, whether it's ancient faith, patristic nectar, patristic faith, they're all officially blessed with clergy, with accountability. Why don't you just start there? And get rid of, like, stop listening. Like, if they're not plugged in, then that's dangerous waters. Like, I don't know who they are. Puffer Space 199, should the rich tithe more than 10%? I don't know, like, that's... I think we kind of need to move away from, like, is there a general kind of formula? I don't know. I think that's a conversation that should be had with one's priest, and talk, am I being stingy? Should I give more? But I hate that, like, I know scripture kind of lays out a general kind of guidelines, and that should be kind of modified. But again, 10% of mine is a lot less than 10% of somebody who makes $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year. So 10% is 10%. There's a general kind of guideline. Braxton Wallace, $20. Lately, I've seen a lot of people use the argument Jesus in the Gospels and Jesus early church of the book of Acts seem to be pro-socialism to push the current day. So yeah, the good rebuttal is what we're going over right now. So I'm glad you I would talk about. The only person in the gospel that pushed these arguments was Judas, and he was rebuked, and he became apostate, and he hung himself and killed himself. So congratulations. That's the first argument I would make. Blessed are the poor, that we alms give to the poor, is not to erase economic class distinctions and raise the poor through secular social programs beyond poverty. It's to show the love of Christ. So the presupposition already is there isn't a transcendent world. There's no teleology for it. It's just matter, and the Marxist kind of libido dominandi dialectics of oppressor and oppressed, and that those have to be eliminated, and therefore we have to use economic forces to lift the poor out of poverty so that there is no more poverty. And Jesus is very clear, that's not happening. You will always have the poor, and I'm going to argue why it's actually good. But that all assumes an anti-Christian, materialistic, kind of Nietzschean will to power kind of presuppositions. That it's like you can't actually have that. All right, number two. He's going to appeal to so it says strongly for restoring up earthly wealth. Why? Like, why? He's going to cherry pick, obviously, the rich young ruler. I'm sure the one who stores up. But notice there's this almost type of Manichaeanism that money itself is evil. That's why they'll actually misinterpret the root of all evil is money. This is the love of money. So he actually says the common sense position, the love of money, i.e. idolatry, is wrong, is not actually what the gospel is saying. Money itself. It's a Manichaean evil substance. You get too much of it, it's just gonna... Now, it makes it difficult, yeah. Like, the more it presents its own... But interestingly, he says, well, so he goes, says, well, that's the common sense view, and obviously the common sense view is wrong. Then plays this word game, but it's obvious. Scripture is obvious that money itself, a large amount of it, is evil. But he never tells you why. But it's clear, why idolatry or distraction of but money is not an intrinsic good. It's an instrumental good, as we talk about in ethics and philosophy. So it can't be evil to store up lots of earthly. Why? Because it means you can do more. If it's an instrumental good, right? It's not a good in itself. Then it depends on what you're doing. I mean, we wouldn't have a lot of great things in the church if it wasn't for people who David Bentley Hart is saying is evil and bad, who's stored up wealthy. I'm like, I want that. Good for them. And that's a hard position to be in, to, work out your salvation while having that much wealth. But it's like the owner of the monastery. I can't think of a better example of here's a man that acquired great wealth, worked hard for it. There's virtues in that. And is giving it all to the church, right? I'm going to make sure, according to David, we wouldn't have St. Peter's Monastery if David Bentley Hart was in charge. So, look at this. The same moral matter on social justice. So he's going to go into social justice. And he's going to quote St. John Chrysostom. He's going to quote the New Testament. I'm sure he's going to be... But the problem is, whatever the elements are in there, he's bringing what in? Sort of like the Roman Catholics do. A modern view, let's say the Roman Catholics, a modern kind of understanding, i.e. Vatican I, and read it back into history. That's what he's doing. Of course, he's going to quote St. Basil the Great. All right. I'm going to make an argument. So, reading through David Bentley Hart's article, I mean, first of all, going back to the gospel, it should be really clear what the problem is. And there's plenty of commentaries that actually explain this. The problem is the inclination of the man's heart, the rich young ruler. His inclination is, if I do all the rules, I can be saved. Well, I've done all the commandments. What Christ is doing is he's looking into his heart. And he's like, and he sees where his heart is not like, well, I'll just do all the rules. It's not about love. He loves money more than he does God. His inclination is away from God, towards himself, and towards money. That's clear. All of the stuff in the Gospels about and salvation about where is the inclination of your heart. The metanoia, the repentance, is a changing of one's mind and heart towards God, love of God, which is the greatest commandment. To love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love your neighbor as thyself. It's right there. I mean, it's so easy. Christ looks into the rich ruler's heart and sees it's not inclined to. He does not love God. He loves riches. And that's why he tells him, the one, give it up. Which is what Christ is saying to all of us. Anything that holds us captive, this is why we're practicing in the fast, give it up. And if you can't give it up altogether, try giving it up for 40 days. Wednesdays and Fridays. Try to give it up a little bit. Can't give up all of that. What can you give up? Can you give up and start practicing that? Why? Because we're being held captive by idols. Love of things rather than love of God. And so we need to pray. And it's not simply we just be like, yep, well, just give it up. Like, you have to practice it. That's why we're saved by our works, because of not what the rich young ruler's thinking of, well, I just went through the rules, works of love that acquire virtue. I need to practice and work at it so that I become like God. That my heart's inclined towards God, I become like him. And so he tells the rich young ruler, give up the thing that's holding you captive. Does it mean everybody's held captive by money? No, it doesn't. But Christ knew the rich young ruler. And then what does he say? So that you may follow me. If you have something that's preventing you from following Christ, Christ is going to call you out and say that, give it up, lay it aside. Lay it aside and follow so you can follow me. The rich young ruler walks away sad. It was in his choice. He had the ability. He chose not wisely. He chose himself and his passions and his idols and his captivity over freedom. And Christ came to free the captives. And he was there. And the man chose what he wanted, and he gets what he gets here today. I don't like it any more than you do. What's that from? So you see what you get here today, which is what he wants. Now I don't like it any more than you do. Who movie trivia? Who knows what I'm quoting? What you got here is a failure to communicate. Who knows? Who knows it? I'm looking in the chat. I think somebody's got it. Somebody's got to get it. Movie trivia with Patristic Faith. What movie was that line from? And then I'm going to play it for you. Got it. Mike. You're on it, brother. Cool Hand Luke. Let's see if I can pop it up. You know it's going to get dinged. I have to cut it out or...
Mr. Honeycutt?
Get in line, facing the captain.
This is what we got to do with all the Zoomer elders. They're going to be put on a work chain, gang. Actually, it was written into the film, The Future, knowing that, and they put all the Latinizer, Goober, Goblin, Zoomer elder from the High Council the Theological Council of Lord of the Flies. In this movie, On a Chain Gang here, and you get a pretty good, interesting message. You kind of get something in the, like, the gospel story too, right? The young ruler, he chooses. He chooses a bad path when and being held captive and not being set free, not being able to participate in the blessedness of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and his life, because he made his own choice. And so that's what he gets. Everybody gets their own, what they want in the end. And some it goes well for, and some it doesn't, because this man is held captive by his idol and love of money rather than God, even when it was presented that I could free you from it. Lay it aside, follow me. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna get a copyright strike. That's all right. I'll just delete this video. At least you guys are here to participate in the... Some men, you just can't reach. Some man called David Bentley Hart. It seems so obvious to me, reading, being immersed. Part of it is in the life of the church that, as the priest says, illumine our hearts, O Master, who lovest mankind, with the pure light of thy divine knowledge. Open the eyes of our mind to the understanding of thy gospel teachings. So, it should be clear when the Lord illumines our mind to the gospel teachings. The simple gospel message, love of two cities. Talk about city of God. A city of man and a city of God. Where you put in your citizenship? Where's the inclination of your heart? Do you love created things over the Creator? You're an idolater. And you're held captive, and your captivity doesn't allow you to participate in the love and death and resurrection and blessedness of Jesus Christ and the virtues. Or you choose wisely. You lay aside the things holding you captive, and you love the greatest commandment, the Lord your God with all your mind, heart, and soul, and love of neighbor. Because we participate, and that's why we feed the poor, and that's why we give them money. That's love of neighbor, not abolition of economic and social classes. That's not. That should be clear. What is going on there? However, if your idol is secular, modern, Marxist, socialist philosophy, guess what? You're not going to lay it aside to allow your mind to be illumined by God to the gospel teachings. And you're going to read in what you want, your heresies and your... Octavian99, what's your opinion? Does the timeline look for Father Sermons? Oh, I have no idea. That's a great question. But thank you for the... I have no idea how that would actually work. How to establish a timeline. I mean, I generally know how canonizations happen. More and more kind of step in to canonize. It depends on what you mean by human being. I just stick with the language. Christ is a divine person, always, even after the incarnation, who takes on human nature. He does not become a human person. So if you mean by human being, does he become a human person? No. He always remains a divine person who becomes fully human. What do we mean by that? He takes on the nature of humanity, right? He becomes but he's fully God and fully man. So I'm just not comfortable saying human being. It's like that's not really what Scripture and the fathers and the councils. We say that the divine person Christ becomes human by taking on fully human nature, and it's completely united within the divine person to the divine nature. So he has two natures, fully God, fully man, in the divine person, but he never becomes a human person. So I would just stay away from that human being. Just stick with what the fathers and councils, the Scripture says. Thank you. Okay. Going back to David Bentley Hart. What do I notice throughout this article? I can get at least three presuppositions of the French Revolution that I pick up on. Can anybody tell me? What are the three battle cries of the French Revolution? I love playing the trivia. Yes, Dave. Libertate, égalité, fraternité. Good job. Sour cookies. Very good, everybody. I reject it. Every single one of them. So notice how we have, we're the inheritors of this. So what do we have in like schools and a government, like all this stuff, all the wokeism? What? Inclusivity. Everybody's our brother. Not everybody's our brother. That's crazy. Brothers in Adam, like they're certainly not brothers in Christ. Fraternity, brotherhood. This is secular humanism, right? The blurring of boundaries between nations. Not all nations are brothers. That's crazy. Oh, but for the international socialists, it is. What is John Lennon, right? Brotherhood of man, right? This. I don't want it. Somalians in Minnesota are not my brothers. They're my enemies. Like, they're destroying our, like, they're not culturally, nationally, let alone religiously, our brothers. Like, that's crazy to me. But in the socialist mindset, what is socialism doing, right? What is the bad thing against, like, the socialists are internationalists. They're globalists. So nations are bad. The people have a distinct ethnicity or race, and nation is what? Racism. That's bad. Who popularized, even if he didn't invent it, the word racist? Specifically a weaponized word against white European Christians. Well, it was the International Socialists, Leon Trotsky. Well, that's anti-Semitic, to point out Leah. Well, guess who else created that? Moritz, what's his name? Moritz Steinschneider. What? They're all weaponized words. They're all anti-Christian words. To destroy you. To break down, and this is part of you have to understand, especially critical theory and but Marx, to break these ancient oppressive distinctions, nations, ethnicities, groups that Christianity has always held. Guess what? Another thing Christianity always held, and it was present throughout the... Yeah, so Crispy, diversity, inclusion, and equity. Octavian, that's a good one. I like that. Everybody's equal in terms of class. Because that was the thing, it was so evil, right? Class distinction, economic distinction, national distinction, religious distinctions. So there'll just be one class. All the boundaries are abolished. So I would tell somebody who's a leftist, a liberal, I mean, there's a bunch of different categories, right? A democratic socialist, what was the other? A liberal, democrat, I'm presupping them. I reject all of your, I don't want equity in society. I don't want fraternity, especially among enemies and different people groups and religious groups that aren't the same. That doesn't mean I hate different people or something like that, but I mean, doesn't your family come first? Don't you prioritize the love and care to your actual family in your house, and then it kind of goes outwards? That doesn't mean I hate people outside of my apartment. Just I prioritize. Well, what is the liberal? It's suicidal empathy. So the groups farthest out from you, who actually enemy are going to kill you, they empathize with, and then what? They hate themselves. I mean, have you seen this stuff where people there's white people saying you have to kill yourself because being white, they literally hate themselves, their cultures, and then they empathize with the farthest group out. Now, again, I'm not saying nobody should hate anybody, but it's very Christian to, right, the ones closest to you, you invest in, your family. It's evil if I'm giving all my money away to a stranger and taking away from my wife and my family, and they're dying. This is the liberal mindset, though. So no, I don't want fraternity. I reject that. I don't want egalitarianism. And I say this somebody down at the lower class. I want society to be stratified. I want hierarchy. I want class and economic distinctions. I don't want poor absolved, the middle class, or the wealthy elite. I like it that way. How about that? And guess what? I'm not a modernist that libertate, right? Liberty is the highest and absolute. Sometimes it's good, but it's not an absolute. Plato said too much freedom is slavery. Yeah, I'm fine locking up certain people, and I don't care. Well, that's not fair. I don't care if it's fair. You know why? or if you like it, or your feelings are hurt, and this goes to libertarians and any conservative or right-wing person too, freedom. I don't want it. At some level, yes, but guess what? Not if it impinges upon and violates higher principles and virtues. That is the mindset of of antiquity. The denial of egalitarianism, highly structured, stratified, hierarchical society. I want it. And I say that somebody down at the bottom. And not only for social cohesion, but actually financially, Jay and I were talking about this. It's one thing the Austrian economists actually get right in terms of economics. It's the only system that can actually function like financially and economically correctly, is that you have a wealthy elite. Now, that's not to say that, well, are you a capitalist? No, well, first of all, what do you mean by that word? Because all these people are defined in terms of like, we're anti-capitalist. Oh my God, what does that word mean? Do you mean the ownership of private property by the individual and laissez-faire free market? Well, first of all, that doesn't even exist. You don't live in a capitalistic society. There's no free market. I don't particularly have a problem with that. That, like, laissez-faire free market at some level. What? As long as it doesn't impede higher kind of virtues. Oh, do you mean Talmudic international banking system that controls that capitalism? Watch, bring that up to watch them melt. No, obviously, no, I don't like that. Oh, do you mean Talmudic international social? They're the same people, you idiots. Don't want that either. What I want is obviously a Christian Orthodox society that's highly hierarchical, financially, economically, socially, and I don't want those class distinctions absolved. I don't want, as the classical liberal or the libertarian, freedom to be an absolute. So you see these things, I see them like on Facebook where it's like, Florida's decided to remove all the Skittles crosswalks. People are crying freedom. I don't care. Well, shouldn't people be able to love? Absolutely, people shouldn't be able to love and do whatever they want. These people should be locked up in mental hospitals. Like, how about... They think that you're a libertarian. Well, that's not fair. I don't care if it's fair. I don't embrace any of your enlightenment. They're the enemy. Sodomy and poo-poo is the enemy. I don't care if you don't think that's fair. If you think everybody should be able to. I don't. And it's a zero-sum game, and it should be taken away from you, and you should be locked up for child abuse, for pushing that stuff on. That's what I believe. So you're not for freedom. No, I'm not for freedom. Maybe at some levels, but no. I don't hold a classical liberal idea or French Revolution idea of liberty or rights. You're talking to the right person. Do you see what we're doing is we're pre-supping them. What is a liberal going to say? They'll probably call you a racist. Anti-Semitic. That's anti-Semitic. Do you mean truth's anti-Semitic? 2 + 2 = 4? You did it to yourself. Like, you're just owning yourself. We do not bring in any foreign influences ideologically, philosophically, spiritually into the Orthodox Church. I don't want it. I don't want a social gospel. Father Russell's always saying, this is not a social gospel. I love it. Yeah, if it's like people were like, we'll just be taking. Well, if you allow that kind of power, if you don't have a libertarian mindset, it'll just be just like, first of all, you never get into that. And this is what's so stupid about the libertarians. Do you think really limited government? Do you think it really matters? Or limited like government? That's assuming that's the highest power. The Talmudic international banking system is what controls everything. You getting lesser government, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just so stupid. So again, it depends what we mean by capitalism. Do you mean Talmudic international banking, or do you mean like within a nation state, the ability to have more or less government interference and the ownership of private property and stuff like that? If that's well, that's not bad. Again, at the same time, I don't. It's very hard to have a complete without some sort of kind of government. So you have to have a kind of the virtuous and the orthodox decide. So I'd say at the level of government interference, like interaction with the financial kind of somewhat free market would be to maintain class and economic distinction. Like, poor should be poor, middle class should be middle class, and that the wealthy should be wealthy. Like, if there's something that would destroy that, then maybe you should, yeah. Like, so I'll allow some, but that would only be guided by like orthodox virtue. So I don't know, like, we live in a secular state, like, I don't know how you work out these things. But think about this too from the socialist mindset. The very wealthy elite, they're probably pretty smart. They're certainly smart with money. And how they use money and the things they can produce. The wealthy help us. They give a lot of things. B Scott, $5. Happy New Year, FDA. Christ is born, yes. Happy New Year to you. Let us glorify him. Usury is a sin. It's the unreasonable, what do you call it? Interest rates applied to. All right, so going back, think about this in the socialist mindset. The really wealthy they're probably above 120 IQ, right? They produce a lot of things. They're quite good at despite whatever their personal sins and idolization of money. Like, God help them. Like, they're going to have to deal. But that doesn't mean, like, well, we should just get rid of the elites because people can make it an idol. The wealthy. But think about this. If we had income redistribution, so remember, money is a means to do something. And one who's wiser and smarter will know what to do with it. So in the socialist mindset, I'm like, so you think it's going to work out well that the smartest people who are the wisest with what to actually do with money are going to be taken down to the level of sub 80 IQ people who are basically retarded? So now everybody has retards and intelligent people now have the same power to actually do stuff and respond. Like, that sounds like a good world to you? And you see this happen all the time where, like, for example, somebody really poor wins the lottery. Like, does life usually go better for them? They're retarded. Like, they have no wisdom or virtues intellectually through experience and different things to know what to do with their money, and they blow all the money, and their life's worse than it was before. So no, it's good the poor are poor. Like, that's, now you have the ability to elevate yourself by what? Acquisition of virtue and learning and stuff. So you're not just kept there, but don't ever do anything to dissolve the class and economic distinction. I want it. Anyways, that's my summation of the gospel today from Mark. David Bentley Hart, is there any questions about, and a lot of these things kind of going on, and heresy, and we tied it into the Latinizers. We talked about how heretics and neo-Gnostics play word games with the etymology and kind of bounce. By the way, the liberal loves to be like, communism and socialism is in Christianity. Look at the God, like everybody gave up their and followed Christ. His disciples, they all shared things in common. Look at the monasteries and be like, I might actually give it to you. Guess what? So they're sharing all the common property in a common life. It wasn't egalitarian. Extremely. So not a lot of freedom in monasteries. I'm fine with that. You want to give, so if you want to quote and cite monastic in the gospel is an ideal for society, then take it. That means extremely hierarchical. It means no feminism either. Right? There's an abbot, there are apostles, and guess what? No other religions. So are you telling me, can we have a society in which other religions excluded? That's extremely hierarchical, and strong authorities, right? Like the church and the monastic, in which you actually even get to decide. So no open borders, no immigration. You actually decide who comes in your community. Yeah, I actually might go for that. Is that to say? Oh, no, not that part. Oh, okay. Isn't that funny? Isn't that so funny that they're like smaller communities that are hierarchical, very little freedom, right? No other religions are allowed. You get to determine, even the people in your religion, who's allowed in. That kind of nation state. That's how you get them on this stuff. One second. My undershirt?
Like a long sleeve one on there?
No, I took it off, put it in the laundry.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Love you. What?
Your ski ones.
Yes, my ski ones. Okay. What other questions do you have? Oh, I have a gift card for my brother. Oh, you have to accept these. I was wondering why I was getting Reply to your Amazon account, my brother. Thank you, brother. Send. Thank you. Okay. That was covering a lot of good stuff today. What other topics and questions do we have? Oh, I remember. Oh, I put it in already. I announced. We have Orthodox Continuing Education and Catechesis class. Tonight, 6:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Did I put a link in? We're picking up where we left off from the Father Michael Pomazansky book. I'll just put that link in. There. So feel free to jump in tonight and learn some orthodoxy. We were talking about evil and sin, which is a great topic. We're kind of talking about Manichaeism today, so we'll go over some of that stuff. Oh, that's funny. I can't remember the questions to. Is the EP based? Yes, he's based in Constantinople, which they called Istanbul now. Does that help? Saint Basil on oh my gosh, why did I just blank on the social. Help me out here. My brain just farted. Saint Basil on social justice. That's literally the title of the work. And guess what? It has nothing to do. I love how they quote, oh yeah, see, you would say Basil's a communist. It has to do exactly with the gospel reading today. The acquisition of virtue. Not a social welfare program. I just can't, like, it's these people reading this stuff into what they want into. Pray for who? Somebody who's been attending? David Bentley Hart's been attending your parish? Yeah, pray for him. Pray for everybody. It doesn't matter what a bishop says. A bishop, by the way, a bishop does not define doctrine. Only a synod can. So I really don't care what a bishop says on. They can't define doctrine. DBH he's actually a registered democratic socialist that thinks we should have full-on socialism. That he's got a Manichaean view. Just to summarize, a Manichaean view. Witches themselves are actually intrinsically evil, which is interesting, and that flies in the face against like actually philosophy and ethics. Money is not ever intrinsic. If it can't be an intrinsic good, it can't be an intrinsic evil. It's what we call an instrumental good. So, I mean, it just flies in the face of like just even secular philosophy and ethics. And that, therefore, we should have a communistic, where everybody has equal, everybody's included, it's egalitarian, everybody has a redistribution of wealth, because that's what's fair and equitable, you see. I'm like, no, it's not. I don't want it. I say that somebody who's poor. I'm like, I don't want a society when everybody has the same amount of money. That's so stupid. Anyways, that's what we covered. And that he has modern... I already noticed this before I found out he was a total leftoid socialist. His arguments for universalism were thoroughly kind of modern and Western, like the mindset. So he's already got these presuppositions that he reads in to all of that. And no, you can't be orthodox. Like, he basically, I don't remember, it was 7 years ago, denied the councils. If the councils contradict me, then the councils be damned. Like, now he attends an Orthodox church. He's not been formally excommunicated, but like, obviously he's not Orthodox. You can't believe that and be Orthodox, if that's your question. But he hasn't been disciplined, if that's what you're asking. Okay, any other questions before we depart? Oh, I got really good news. Check this out. I haven't put it up yet. I haven't had any time. Like, we don't get home until the evening. I'll give a big shout out to one of my parishioners. A new computer built. Check that out, dude. How awesome is this? That means I'll be able to run my new 4K, right? This thing is fast. A lot of RAM. And I was looking for... But what I have to do is get all the passwords and websites and documents and transfer it over to you. So I just haven't had time to do that. But thank you so much, Joshua. God bless you. That was a wonderful Christmas gift. I'm super excited. Everybody who subscribes and watches my video, I mean, we are upgrading. It's 2026. It's about time that I get a new computer. So haven't we been talking about this? Isn't that great? $4.99 from Raziel. Thank you for your time, love, investment. Thank you. Any synod is dogmatic. Now, the question you're asking, and it's binding too. The question you're at does it rise to the level of infallibility? No. Could it be revised? Yes. It could be. But any synod, even local small synods, are dogmatic. That's what I'm saying. An individual bishop cannot define dogma. A synod could, but there's an appeals process. They can still get something wrong, but it's still dogmatic. Like, you have to believe it. But it can be appealed. Like, it could be reversed from a higher. But yeah, absolutely. Crete 2016 is a dogmatic council, and it's binding. But it's not infallible. It's not an ecumenical council, although it attempted to get to that status. Yes. Absolutely, you can be inside the church and outside. Absolutely. Many will say, Lord, Lord. And he'll say what? Depart from me, I never knew you. But I was baptized in the Greek or the Serbian church. I don't know you. Narrow is the way. Mike, are you coming up to Montana? Oh, that's the other thing. I'm gonna try to get up in the next couple days. Save the date, Montanica 2026. Orthodoxy in Nature is the theme. June 4th to June 7th, the week after Pentecost. And I believe as far as, we know that Neil is gonna come up. Yeah, good. Mike's coming with Neil. Let's just let Neil be the MC. Like, he's great. I used to have to be MC, but Neil's way better than me. Like, I love his energy. And so, let him do what one of the things he does best. He's going to play some music. Mike brings some music. I'm also going to hire. So there's going to be lots of music this Montanica. And I'm still going to hire the bluegrass band. We love them. But so I think we'll have 2 nights of music. If Neil wants to play and Mike wants to play, and then the bluegrass band on Friday, we could do Saturday night music too. Stuff that's new this year, VIP tickets. You'll be flown in a helicopter, right, with circus clowns. And then what we do is the VIP tickets, you get like one of those mini bikes that you do, and you come into the, but we are selling VIP tickets. They'll be a lot more expensive, but you get a lot more. So you'll get your own private table with the bishops and clergy and speakers. Private meal. Exclusive that not everybody's welcome, and we're capping those tickets too, but they are going to be pricey. That's going to help us cover our costs. It gets bigger and bigger and more complicated, more money, so we've got to do that. But people like that. Also, Sunday evening with John Here's doing the Supra, you'll have a private invite to that. Yeah, we should have a burning, like machine guns and like firework. Yeah, that sounds good. And then the Montanica bags are only going to go to the VIP. Those are some changes that we're doing, and I think we're capping that off at 15 or 20 VIP tickets. What else? Well, that Dr. David Patrick Harry is coming back. My godson, who's an environmental scientist, Tony, who also knows we've been doing apologetics since 1996. So he's a great godson. He's older than me, but you really love him. Wonderful, pious, just loves God with all his heart, mind, soul. And so he'll be one of the speakers. And then Dr. Bruce Seraphim Fultz, amazing philosophy professor, Heideggerian scholar, wrote a book on Orthodox ecology, and many more. We have announced to the another speaker, and the hierarchs are going to be, it looks like 2 hierarchs too. So, other questions about Montanica? Hotel discount, I'm going to contact them. 2 banquet. I think we're going to cut out the breakfast. What I noticed is that people are already eating all the breakfast at the hotel. Like, it'll give us more time too. But we'll have the banquet dinners and the lunches available for. Yes, dates are always set. Just always remember, it's always the week after Pentecost. So we don't need to decide on what. Now, obviously, that fluctuates throughout, through each year. Next year is going to be June 4th or June 7th. But we never change the dates. We don't have to set them. They're forever set in stone. the week after Pentecost. And we're going to have Neil, even Jay Dyremichael. I'm talking about Jay. You know, if we can get him, reach out to him, get him to come. Remember, he was the first one of the first speakers at Montanica. It'd be like a reunion. And so is Dr. David Patrick Harry. So that would be an awesome Montanica. Yes, 6:30. Other questions? Anything? So we did class night, Montanica announcements, covered the gospel. We talked about the Latinizers. Did I miss anything? Oh yeah, Jim Bob. Yeah, seriously. Why do we even give people an option? Why don't I just Jim Bob? I wasn't asking. Huh? I always mess with people. Yes, I believe Metropolitan General was going to be the other hierarch, but there's one other one too that's. Julian versus Gregorian. Well, if you're Orthodox, you're not on the Gregorian. You're on either the Julian or the Revised Julian. And everybody's Pentecost is on the same day, so you don't have to worry. We don't have different Pentecosts. Or Easters. So, again, if you're Orthodox, you're either on the Julian or the Revised Julian, but you're not on the Gregorian. No, I'm going to work on the next week of putting a save the date. For the conference, so everybody can start planning, saving. I'm gonna just look at the super chats before I leave. I don't want to miss anybody. You know, my wrists are sore from the poll planning. Okay, I think we got it all. All right, that is it. May the Lord bless you, keep you this new year, give you strength, preserve you. For those on the Julian calendar, the old calendar, as we're approaching the Nativity, may be blessed. He won't do a mandolin battle. Thank you for your questions. Good to be back. Oh, woo, almost left before Jonathan Britton. $5. I can't convey enough how much I appreciate your ability to cut through the immaterial, tangible questions around. Macrash doesn't tell me the truth. Well, thank you. That's awful nice of you actually to say that. Rokor uses Julian. Serbians use Julian. I'm in the Serbian with the Serbians. Jerusalem uses old calendar. Georgia. Am I missing any? Sure I am, but most everybody else that I didn't mention is on the Revised Julian. Ukraine uses both because of the. Oh God, forgive me. Yeah, I forgot Russia and Ukraine. No, non-OCA Romanian is on new calendar. All Romanians are new calendar. Whether it's the patriarchal or it's Archbishop Nathaniel's OCA. But yeah, Russia. Now Ukraine, I don't know if Ukraine's like, because the Ukrainian Orthodox Church is being persecuted, and Zelensky declared that January 7th Russian propaganda and created by the Russians. Didn't you know? The old calendar is created by the Russians. Some Greeks in Athos I do, but not all the rest of the Greeks are new calendar. Yeah, if they're under a certain Athonite monastery. Anything else? Oh, you know something crazy? Took me forever to figure this out. My phone, do you ever get this where you gotta plug your phone in? Because I was using it all day listening to music, so I drained the battery. And then we went out to dinner with some of the friends we were skiing with. And what I noticed when I was driving home down from the mountain to the restaurant, plugged it in, it says unable to charge, water detected in your device. Have you ever got that message? And I was like felt like I dropped my phone. I kept it in. Override. You do override for like 2 seconds, it would start to charge, and then it would go like it wouldn't do it. And then I shut my phone off, then I came back home and tried to get it to work. It wouldn't do. And I'm like, this stinks. Like, what if somebody calls me and I need to... Then I put it in the rice. Did the whole rice trick, which I hate because it always gets stuck. No, and it's not... It's like really dry here. Like... Just rice always gets stuck in there. Anyways... Then I used my wife's it wasn't working with my plug. And then I took her iPad and my plug doesn't work with her. So I charged my phone on her. I'm like, okay, it's charging. So I'm like, oh, maybe my plug's gone. Then woke up this morning, tried to plug it into my phone, and it wasn't charging the plug. And then I'm looking at, my God, I figured it out. I'm looking at the end here, and it looks corroded. And I'm like, oh, I know what happened. This was in my car. When I pulled my phone out, and the cord dropped on the ground, on the where feet are is we've got those because we're snow out. There was water down there, and as I was skiing, this was sitting corroding in the water. And then when I come back, I actually took this, it probably had water on it, and I put it in there, which caused water to get into. So I figured it out. Phone's fine now. The cord's not, but I just got a new cord. But isn't that funny? See that? No, kids, that's logic. See, I just took a couple, facts and I designed a syllogism in my head through process of elimination, and then I made a series of inferences and concluded with almost apodictic certainty that, in fact, this is what actually happened yesterday. But alas, I thought it was like, the other thing is like, what if your phone gets so damaged I might gotta get a new one and buy it. Anyways, funny story. That's all the funny stories today that I have. And if you do the rice thing, you need to add soy sauce or two. The funny thing is about the cold weather, like I've never had this problem skiing. Like, and yesterday was warm by Montana standards. It was like 38, 39. Like, I think Saturday, I could actually feel the temperature going down. I was like, man, is this in my head? Then at the end of the day, went into the car and I'm like, and the temperature gauge comes on. It's like -2. I'm like, I can feel that's exactly because you start feeling it no matter how awesome your gloves are and your boots. That's one thing. When it starts to get really below zero, you feel it on your extremities. And I'm like, my fingers are aching. And you just kind of feel the way things kind of work in your body. And so when I went into the car, I was like, actually, -2 is pretty cold. The coldest I've ever skied, this is usually when they shut it down. They would certainly shut it down if there was wind, but a couple years ago I was skiing -16, no wind. They could shut it down a lot warmer than that if there's wind because of the wind chill. But yesterday was warm. Today's 33. It's fairly warm by Montana winter standards. January is usually when it starts to get February cold. Yesterday was like 38, 39. Blue bird skies. Nice soft snow. I was hot. I didn't even wear a jacket. Like I just had my long sleeve, my shirt. All right, guys. God bless you. Thank you so much. Good to be back, like I said. And Happy New Year. And till next time, God bless.